A very good morning to everybody from a rather gloomy Ullapool this morning. Off and on charge from Livingston up to Ullapool this morning, driving up the A9, and it looks as if we're going to continue to see this over the next couple of days or so. But looking at the month of June again, very, very warm across all of the continent, including the British Isles. Average, even slightly below average, if you notice here, across parts of Iberia. Looking at the month of July so far, cooler than normal across the central portion of Europe. A lot of the reason why is because of a collision between Atlantic air and very hot continental air. We've had some very explosive thunderstorms, heavy rainfall, and this has been the battleground thus far. Even a little bit below normal across Portugal, as you can see here, a good bit below normal, in fact, warmer than normal. Eastern portions of Spain. Notice up across the northwest of Scotland, very warm compared to normal. Average further south. Very, very warm. Record breaking warm, of course, over Scandinavia. Temperature of 34 Celsius recorded 2 days ago in the Arctic region. That was the warmest temperature ever recorded in Europe, 70 degrees north in latitude here. So very significant, of course. Looking at the sea surface temperature anomalies here, this is the last 7-day change, and notice here you could argue that we've had more cooling than we have had warming across the Earth's sea surface here. But these are the current sea surface temperature anomalies here. Of course, very, very warm Mediterranean, Baltic Sea. Reason why, of course, we've had a lot of very, very hot conditions. Slightly above normal across the Indian Ocean, as you can see here. Continue to have that warm blob in the North Pacific. Cooler than normal extending from Alaska through the Aleutian Island chain. Warmer than normal across Japan, where we've seen record-breaking rainfall here. That has definitely influenced and enhanced the rainfall in parts of Japan, of course, if you've got that seasonal frontal zone. Interesting, before I get to the North Atlantic, about pretty much neutral conditions across the Enzo region here, so we neither have an El Nino nor a La Nina at this moment in time here. But the North Atlantic's quite interesting. We're starting to see a bit of a change here, warming now to the north of the UK, surrounding Iceland, surrounding Greenland here, and this, of course, would be something to keep an eye on as we push towards the autumn season, because warm, cold, warm would indicate that tripole that would enhance the potential enhancement of North Atlantic and Greenland blocking as we push towards the winter season. And the eastern QBO looks as if it's materializing, and that can also lead to enhancement and blocking in high latitudes during the winter season. Looking at the latest GFS ensemble here for the upcoming 5-day period, of course, we've had low pressure over the UK, hence why it's been so unsettled. Temperatures as well haven't been anything really to write home about. I think 25 degrees has been pretty much the ceiling in terms of temperature thus far. Still early, of course, but plenty of heat, of course, across eastern portions of Europe here. The heat really this summer has done a pretty good job at avoiding the British Isles. In fact, we've had knocking the door of 50 degrees in Algeria, and of course almost mid-30s up across the Scandinavian Arctic here. So the in a sense, with areas of low pressure coming in into the British Isles, especially the southern half of the British Isles and France, what we've seen is boiling conditions across North Africa, kind of reroute around this kind of cut off trough, and it's been forced up into Scandinavia here. So that is part of the reason why we're seeing the setup that we've got. But folks, I want to actually look at the longer term today, because this is rather interesting. Now, in recent times, and including my July forecast, which I released actually at the 1st of July, I indicated that we would have a fairly unsettled period. Then the potential for mid-month, start to see a ridge become a little bit more established for a time, allowing temperatures to rise, and then potentially more of a kind of a decrease in pressure over the British Isles during the second half of the month. So kind of going back to where we're at the moment in terms of unsettled. But notice here that as I skip through this sequence here, folks, we start to see that ridge kind of trying to kind of dominate not only Europe here, but also the British Isles. We kind of lose the areas of low pressure, one further south, one further north. But notice here that as we skip through the sequence here, and this is getting into the second half of July, well into it, in fact, we're into the 24th of the month. Notice here that the ridge kind of starts to split. We've got a branch going west over the Atlantic, another branch going back into Europe again, and we're kind of back in this kind of no man's land, this kind of void between weather systems here, which would indicate at least less in the way of high pressure, perhaps a kind of subtle low. And if anything, even if we get relatively dry conditions here, or relatively settled conditions, even though I think we're likely to have a kind of showery theme if this materializes, what we aren't going to see, I don't think, is major heat, well into the 30s, so to speak. I think this month could wind up similar to what I've expected for the summer overall. A kind of unsettled and a kind of disappointing month of July. Whether it winds up below normal or not, like I kind of think it would, remains to be seen here. But this is certainly something worth keeping an eye on. There is no, certainly going by the GFS ensemble, there is no major ridge on the horizon. I don't think anything that lasts longer than a few days. That's what I would say about that. So that's it for today. Hope you have a great Wednesday, and I'll be back in the next couple of days with more. Bye for now.